Well, how about that? It's another Monday.
They happen about every 7 days
They
or
do.
so.
7 days seem to be going faster and
again
faster
and again and again and again.
Does it feel like that? Groundhog Day?
I don't know. There are a number of things that just seem to go over and over again, which I really like.
Yeah,
it's
guess what?
this
We're
part.
here again,
It's
drinking and eating great food. And
yes, Marika's here.
Oh, look at that. So,
all right.
Yeah, so change it up. We got a new plan, and from your feedback, you guys made the comment. Several of you made the comments that it's sometimes disjointed between when you have something to say and when we actually see what you said. And we're like, why did they say that? Because you're referring to something we said.
Or if you go way into the screen to see what someone addressed.
Yeah. So we have recruited a co-host, Marika. She's going to be co-hosting all of our episodes from now on, and she'll be able to pay closer attention to your comments and feedback, direct them to us as needed so we can answer questions in real time and hear your comments in real time. So we're excited about that. And we're also excited because Marika brings a wealth of knowledge to the conversation, especially on a day like today when we're talking about
beer.
Beer, yes.
Yes.
That's her expertise. She's learning rapidly about the wine world and has explored all over New England recently, some wineries, so that's great. And certainly been with Hermit Woods now almost 3 years.
Yeah, two and a half.
Yeah. So so it's great. A lot of new
and
voice.
Chuck would normally be here, but he's actually in London.
He's actually
right
here.
now.
He is here.
He is. He's
on. He is at the Hard Rock Cafe.
At the
Hard Rock Cafe in London.
So he's anyways.
Cheers,
he's
Chuck.
Watching. Cheers, Chuck. Wish you could be here with us. I know you're having a great
Cheers to all of you out there.
So we're doing something different today. Last week, we got all excited about this book that we've been reading. And it turns out we're a little bit behind the times. This book has been being read for
a decade,
18 years, or something like that. But nevertheless, we all just discovered it. And if you haven't heard about it, we really, really all enjoyed reading it. So Garrett Oliver is he's the brewmaster for Brooklyn Brewery. Has been around for probably close to 40 years. And he is also celebrated widely across the beer world. He's been one of the highest awarded brewers in the country. He's received the highest award of any brewer in the country for his work. And he's also a very talented writer.
Yeah, it's fun to read.
Really
great writing. Yeah.
And he introduced me to a world I was only loosely aware of. I know you're a little more aware of it than me, but he really brings you to Europe to learn about the original beer that was made for hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years, long before Americans ever even made beer. So we get to learn about European beers all over Europe and some of the original styles that have been sort of morphed over the years and certainly morphed by Americans. And he covers American beer as well at the latter part of the book. But anyway, his whole conversation is about food. It's not just about, he introduces
we don't mind at all.
No.
Wait, we don't mind that at all.
Here, beer, wine, and food.
Right.
And soon, entertainment.
Right. No, it really fits with everything here at Hermit Woods. I mean, we've got our little deli eatery with a variety of really great foods, a whole bunch of local well-crafted beers, and then our wines, wide variety of wines and cider and mead to go along with it.
Right.
So it just fits perfectly. And what we wanted to do today was to go down that path side by side. We've got 3 beers, 3 wines, a whole nice offering out of the deli, and we'll just see what pleases, what doesn't, what works. So it's part of the fun.
It's interesting. I wrote up in the story that I wrote about the show that Garrett's opinion, at least in my opinion anyway, is somewhat controversial because he does take a stab a little bit at the wine industry, suggesting that the wine world doesn't hold a candle to the beer world in terms of food and wine pairing. When I think there would be some people that would probably disagree with that, And actually, though, he does come back around. I know when he gets the American section, he starts talking wine again.
Does he?
I know.
So far, there's not been a single
wine.
thing that he says there's wine is going to be better than any beer.
Yeah, he doesn't do it positively until the very end of the book.
Yeah, I'm only about 2/3 of the way through right now.
But he's also, I think, biased.
Oh, well,
And he is deeply into the world of brewing and has spent his whole career traveling the world, drinking beer and learning about beer. He's not in the wine industry, although from what I can tell from his writing, I think he's very savvy on wine as well.
Yeah.
He knows wine.
Yeah.
He's had wine all over the world as well. So great subject, whether it's controversial or not, or whether he's biased or not, matters not. He's got great things to say and well worth reading to learn about. And is what prompted us to be here today to talk about.
It was a little shocking for me to read through in the beginning, because my whole love affair with fermented beverages came out of beer. I mean, I just love making beer and drinking beer. And you and Chuck and I drink a lot of beer together, often with food. And but there's a really special place for me with wine and certain foods. And no matter who says it or how they say it, it's really hard to dislodge that.
Sure.
But I'm willing always to take on a new challenge and see what that's like. I'd love to see that this Pilsner does a lot better with the Panini than any one of our wines.
So a couple of things I wanted to add. First of all, I think you know this, but I start my history presentation that I do every Saturday at noon by telling the world that the reason that we're all here today is because I suck at making beer. So it really, there's a lot of roots here in the beer world.
Oh, yeah.
And as you've pointed out, you make wine like beer.
Yeah.
In the way you think about it, you think about it differently, and you kind of have to, because we're solving new problems.
It's a
creating and solving new
different
problems.
type of thing. I mean, when we were bringing in Malbec grapes from Chile and destemming them, crushing them, and barreling them down and making red wine, that follows that process of making red wine. And it's pretty straight ahead. You get those grapes and you crush them and make wine out of them. When you make Lake House White, it's a totally different format. It's a little bit like brewing beer, where you're thinking about the water, you're thinking about the malt bill, the different grains that you're using for different flavors. You're thinking about the hops as another component, and then the yeast on top of that, and then the temperatures and the fermentation and the aging. So it brings in that complexity of crafting a beer is how we end up making wine. We sort of craft a wine.
Right.
He talks early on at the beginning about how, and I think when I mentioned this to you, you didn't quite agree, but that he thought it was much harder to make a beer by accident.
To make a beer by accident.
In the same way that, like, you could, if you had fruit juice, it might ferment on its own spontaneously,
It could
because there's
accidentally
natural
become
yeast
really
in the
good.
air.
Right.
It might,
Right.
it might not be really good, but
I think that's
wine
true.
can sort of
that's
happen a
actually
little
like
bit
a mead
easier
like
than
that.
beer
It's
can,
just honey
whereas
and water.
beer needs more.
There's no
components
denying
for it
that,
to be
actually,
beer.
because you need to be very purposeful when you
make a beer.
Far more purposeful. You have to have heat. You have to boil water. You have to acquire certain temperature ranges. So you have to be much more purposeful. Where, as you just said, if yeast and grapes come together, wine will be made. It may not be good, but it will be made.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many times you let barley and hops and water come together. They're not going to be a beer.
Exactly. So good point.
You need to malt the barley.
Yeah.
It needs to mash at a certain temperature for the enzymes to convert it to sugars. Then the yeast need to do their thing. It's a much more complicated format.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing that I want to raise is, we talked about this a little bit, and maybe we did as well, but one of the things that I think makes the beer equation so effective with food is kind of the same as the champagne equation.
The carbonation.
Yeah, the carbonation. So, anybody in the wine world will tell you that if, when in doubt, have champagne with your food. It will almost always go, no matter what it is. And that's largely true. There are, of course, exceptions, but there are a lot of great examples of champagne going with a lot of different types of food. And beer brings to the table some of that same characteristic, that same effervescence in your mouth, and the bubbly, and the dryness in some cases.
We need to do this again with our carbonated ciders.
Yes, that's a good
and our
idea.
sparkling wines.
Then it'll be a harder.
Then
Does
we
he
can nail
get
that.
into cider at all?
I don't recall.
No, I don't think so.
Cider's pretty new, actually. Cider's
He
only.
does mention champagne, but let's do that. Let's even the playing field a little bit with carbonated. Have 3 carbonated products
I mean,
on
we
the side
probably
that are
have a can of
non-beer.
rosé right there if we want to bring that into
No, let's do it in the
Let's
future.
stick
Let's
with
do
this.
our thing.
Gives us an excuse to have beer and wine and food again.
No,
So I'm going to jump in here.
Yeah.
Try some old, well-aged cheddar
Okay.
with these two.
Yeah. So what we have right now in our glasses to start off, we have the Twin Barns Belknap Pilsner and Lake House White are starting.
While we start this tasting, why don't you acknowledge who's joined us today?
So I see Janice is here, one of our regulars.
All right.
We've got Chelsea's here.
Excellent.
Hi,
Matt
Chels.
is here, of course. We've got Christine Stromberg joining us. Gary's here.
Christine was in this weekend.
Oh,
All
lovely.
right.
Yeah.
Hi, Gary.
And Gary is here. And Janice. Oh, yeah, I already mentioned Janice. And Chuck, of course.
Great.
At least those who have made themselves known so far.
So remember, folks, if you have something to say, and we didn't go over this, but please, if you're on the broadcast today, like us, share with people if you think they're interested in the kind of things we're talking about. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel or our Facebook page, you should subscribe so you get notice when we're going live here. So
So you said cheddar.
So what do you
with
think of
Lake House
this? Try these two.
I had the cheddar with the beer.
So this is the really aged Harmon's cheddar. And we have our Lake House White, and we have a nice crisp Pilsner beer.
I'm not a fan of the beer and the cheddar.
I'm not either.
It doesn't work.
This is right. Test number one, I think the wine's the winner.
Yeah.
I would
Well,
much rather
yeah,
sit
I'd
down
try the
with a
wine.
chunk of this cheese and a bottle of this wine than I would with a can of the beer and this cheese.
This is a hoppier Pilsner than I remember.
Why?
Well, it's been a while since I've had it.
I mean,
There's no way that Pilsner doesn't hold up to the cheddar.
right. We'll see what happens
Even a
with different.
hoppier Pilsner, right? Which would mean a little more bitterness, a little.
And it's maybe it's kind of the bitterness that I don't like lingering on with it.
I
Maybe if
almost
we
want
had
to-
it with the
I wanna try
flatbread
it.
or something.
I want to try it with the goat cheese because I
Oh.
think I want that sort of bit of
tanginess?
smoothness. I'm
Yeah.
thinking the smoothness, the kind of creaminess might counteract
Did
the.
you before you do that though? Did you try the cheddar with the wine?
Yes, that was better.
Okay. You know what it is about the wine? You're right. The bitterness in the beer competes too much with the cheddar, and the wine has a fruitiness, and that fruitiness gives you that sort of there's rose hips, which is an apple family, and we know cheddar and apple goes together well. So there's some of that going on.
Right.
Although I don't think I think there are better choices of our wines with this
Like the
cheddar.
rosé?
Like the rosé, which goes with everything, as we've already decided.
That's better. The goat cheese is better.
Try the goat cheese.
Yeah. Because goat cheese sort of fully coats your tongue in a way that
Yeah.
sort of, I don't know what's the word, counteract, I
I
guess.
still find the lingering of the bitterness of the Pilsner. I want something more oily or like either the flatbread or
Did you try the
sandwich.
goat cheese?
I did. And
I like it.
I didn't like the way that went together.
Oh.
Maybe you had it with a cracker, right?
No, I just use a cracker as
Oh,
a
you just use
serving
that
device.
instead of sticking your fingers in there like I did.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm going to have to try this Pilsner with a little bite of one of these sandwiches. So what do we got? This is our.
Like I said, with the goat cheese is good too. We did the turkey bacon jam panini.
Okay. Try the beer with that.
I'm gonna reach across and grab myself a little niblet. Thank you.
No.
So Twin Barns is doing a Pilsner. Awesome.
Yeah, they've been for a while. They've been out this for about a year now. I like the beer and the sandwich.
I bet. That's the sort of thing that
Yeah, it's got a lot of different flavors going on,
right.
and let's see how it goes with the wine. It's hard to. There's so many different things going on. It's hard for me to really pinpoint what is exactly making it work for
Well, I
me.
think about that like, a pizza and a beer. They're just such a great combination. But I've had like a semi-dry Riesling with a pizza, and that's been really nice too.
We found I think we mentioned this on one of the earlier podcasts, maybe, but I just took a trip to the Finger Lakes and did a lot of wine tasting around there, and I felt like every tasting we did, just about they talked about a wine that they had that was their pizza wine, And it was usually the, slightly sweeter, lighter reds. Yeah. Every winery seemed to have a pizza wine. And since then we've had pizza or sort of like lasagna type dishes that we've paired with a slightly sweeter red.
And it works.
And it's good because I'm in the same camp. I've always thought, pizza and beer, 100%. But I'm more into the pizza and wine.
Do we have any comments from the gallery on the?
Matt's drinking
Remember,
some
you can
scotch.
put people's comments on the picture too.
Not much yet.
All right.
Maybe they're all eating and drinking.
They're all eating. I hope everybody.
Yeah. What is it? Yeah. Throw us up. What are y'all drinking?
Let us know what you're drinking and eating.
Matt's got some scotch.
Oh, good for you, Matt. What are we drinking? What kind of scotch?
Yeah, Matt. What sort? It says scotch without food, neat, 54 degrees.
So have you found
Matt likes doing Red Scare or Northern Berry, or Lynn likes Northern Berry. Matt likes Red Scare with pizza.
When you read their comments, put them on the screen so everybody can see.
How do you do that?
Just click on it and click it off again when you're
Up it
ready.
goes.
Matt's got some Lagavulin.
Oh, good
That's
choice.
the good peaty one, right?
Yes. Islay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think we've got
Remember
some
that
at home.
Scotch food pairing we went to?
Oh, it was a dinner. It was a Lefroy dinner at this restaurant down in the Seacoast. And we just wanted to put the scotch aside and consume our meal with a glass of wine.
We had a nice
steak
dinner, and we were supposed to be sipping a scotch with it.
It didn't work at all. I was not happy with that at all. But they're doing it a lot. I see these whiskey.
I don't think of scotch as being much of a food.
No, it's a sipping. For me,
to me, I think all that alcoholic heat, all those intense flavors. It's great after your mouth has been beat up by dinner and the rest of it. You have something with strength to sip on.
Yeah.
Or beforehand, while your palate is clean, to sip on.
So, did you try the Lake House White with the sandwich?
I did, and on both fronts, the sandwich sort of overwhelmed it. Then they were just to wash it down.
Yeah, I think the Lake House White is a bit too light.
It didn't really enhance.
That's interesting.
The sandwich, to me, it sort of overwhelmed it. I much preferred the Lake House White with the cheddar.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. That makes sense.
That's what it just doesn't.
Yeah.
They compete. They don't go together. What about the flatbread?
Oh, right.
Maybe with
I just had my last sip of Lake House White. I need a small splash of Lake House White.
Maybe with the arugula. Look at this. We can crisscross all over the place.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Thanks. Matt suggests some hearty haggis with scotch.
He suggests haggis with everything. I don't know that I've ever had haggis. I think someday I'm going to end up having to try it.
I had it once in Scotland, and it was an interesting endeavor to try it. It's kind of like having guinea pig in Peru or something. It wasn't something that really stood out as something that I would go after, but I'm sure there's many different varieties of haggis and ways of putting it up.
Lake House White's not bad. We talked about beer and pizza, but this is pizza in a different sense than.
Yeah, and I'm finding that it's what you said about the sandwich is the same with the beer. The beer washes it down nice, but this pizza is very, very flavorful, and the beer disappears a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, flatbread totally overwhelmed it.
Talking about the Lake House White.
Chuck's drinking a Lagunitas daytime session IPA.
Lagunitas?
Lagunitas, yeah.
Yep.
That's what he's got.
He's drinking Lagunitas in England?
What's that?
It is a Hard Rock Cafe.
Chuck's drinking Lagunitas.
Lagunitas in England.
Yeah.
Oop, we're frozen.
It's kind of interesting. There's a different sort of flavor aspect that's coming out of the Lake House White with this flatbread. And I can't quite tell if it's competing or going together.
I think it kind of works.
I don't,
it's not bad.
It's not bad. I'm not sure if we're enhancing
either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, either the food or the wine.
It's such a nice. I love the Lake House White. I think it's one of my favorites. of
Me
your
too.
best wines.
Me too.
Just amazing.
That's one I drink of quite a bit at home with
Yeah.
lots of different things.
Yeah, that latest vintage too. So good. Can't wait to release that to the world.
Should we do our second?
Yeah. Ready to go to another
right.
another pair?
All right.
Oh yeah, if you just finish this.
I know.
So our next beer offering is exciting because it's one that none of us have tried yet. And from a brewery that we haven't carried yet.
2 weeks ago.
Did you have it? Yeah. So this is from Chaplin, Maine. They're down, where are they, Bob?
In Dover.
Dover, which is a good place to go if you're looking for some beer. We've heard there. How many breweries within walking distance down there, Bob?
Let's see, 1, 2, 3,
You can't remember.
4.
That's why.
Because there's 4 within 7/10 of a mile if you do the whole loop.
Now, are we going to go to rosé here?
Yeah. So this is their Opaque Melody New England IPA that we just brought in.
I can do this
You can do it.
without pouring too much of it.
Nicely done. Oh, this rosé is going to be hard to compete with. This is going to be really interesting.
Well, it has that sweetness.
Yeah, sweetness
Which I think
and
is-
tartness and
Sweetness and tartness.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
We've got another bottle there for you.
Okay. It's good because we'll go through that.
Yeah.
All right. So should we start first with the cheeses and work
let's
up
do
into
the
the
same thing.
complexity
Yeah.
of
Let's
the,
do
of the
same
sandwiches?
thing, yeah. So
Yeah.
Last time I did the blue cheese with the Lake House White and the
Oh, yeah, I
beer
missed blue
before
cheese in the
while
last
we were
one.
just starting,
Yeah.
and didn't work at all. And
So we should just
I
skip
did-
that.
Well,
no,
but I
no,
know,
now we should definitely
I know
try
the
with
blue
this,
cheese goes with
because
the
I know
rosé.
this blue cheese just nails it with the rosé.
Oh. Well, this is good. Well, beer on its own is
Wow,
good marks.
great smelling beer. A lot of grapefruit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's nice.
See, that just wipes a tongue clean with that.
Which is okay, 'cause
Right,
with that
with that-
intense blue cheese.
Right. I know with the blue cheese, it works fine because it handles that
That's great.
really sharp bitterness of the hops, and the carbonation just wipes your palate clear.
Yeah.
It doesn't add to the blue cheese, but it does take away from it. It cleans your palate. So if you're having something with blue cheese and you're going to be jumping around with other flavors, it's a nice advantage to be able to clean the blue cheese off your palate and have a fresh
Yeah, I
palate.
think the
for
beer
the next.
overpowers
It does.
It doesn't go
Yeah,
with it.
It wipes it out.
Which is impressive because it's a potent blue cheese. I
Potent blue cheese.
love how my mouth just waters with the crumb of this blue cheese, and I love it.
Do I see Greg having joined us?
Yes, Greg suggests that Scotch is a food group in his home.
I have no doubt about that, Greg.
See, here again,
Is a food group, but does that mean it goes with other food groups, or does it just get
We'll see what he
consumed as its own group of foods?
Matt
So-
says blue cheese, stuffed pearl olives with Scotch. Definitely not. Red Scare.
I bet.
Definitely yes.
Red Scare's got some of that spicy sage thing going on. It probably works well with it. But I got to tell you, 2 for 2 now. The wine outdoes the beer with a straight up
Blue cheese.
good cheese. So in the first case, the Lake House White with the cheddar, and now this case, the blue cheese with the rosé, they enhance one
They
another.
both enhance each other. They both just.
They enhance one another. The beer isn't bad with the blue cheese, but it just wipes your palate clean.
Yeah.
And with this, you just want to
They
keep
mingle.
shoving cheese in your mouth and drinking rosé. You just want to go.
I do. I do.
Definitely.
Exactly what you just said. Open that other bottle. You do not enough cheese here. though.
That's what it is, right? When that happens, when those things come together and they elevate one another, it's just fantastic. That's a really good pairing.
Yeah.
That's where someone will stop in the middle of their conversation and go, hold on here, I got to try that again. Or think about that.
So whenever we talk about pairing, the pairing either allows the wine to get better or the food to get better, or whatever it is you're drinking. And
Yeah, that's like a B level pairing.
Yeah. Or one gets worse one suffers, or they both suffer,
That's
or they both get better.
and that's the
Then
A.
you know
That's the A plus.
that's the A pairing. Yeah, and when that happens, it's like magic in your mouth. I always talk about it kind of jokingly when the commercial where the guy with the peanut butter and the guy with the chocolate
For
bar
Reese's peanut
trip
butter
into
cups.
each other,
Yeah.
and you've got chocolate in my peanut butter. That was a famous ad from the 80s. You probably don't remember it.
They've had
But,
similar ones since, I think, though.
Yeah, maybe. And then they each taste it and they go, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
And if you've ever had a Reese's peanut butter cup, I mean, not everybody likes them probably as much as I do, but it's an amazing flavor, chocolate and peanut butter.
Oh yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
or peanut butter and bananas.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
Oh my God, it's just amazing. I just sit there with a banana
And apples. Apples are really good.
with,
Apples and peanut butter.
I haven't had that.
Oh, you haven't had that?
Oh, I gotta do that. I gotta try that.
Probably doesn't go with wine or beer though.
So right up out of the gate, the cheese, I don't even need to go to the cheddar to know the same example.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same, the
Yeah.
cheese and the blue cheese. Now, what about the creamy cheese?
Wonderful
Both of
with the
them
rosé.
to me overwhelm the goat cheese.
How about both the beer and the wine
Yeah.
overwhelm the goat cheese?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm having trouble. This
What about
Aged
that's
Gouda.
aged Gouda, right?
is, I think it's too much bitterness because the cheese is so aged that it does have a bit of a bitterness to it, and the bitterness with the beer, I think it's too much.
So with the Pilsner, I tried the aged Gouda with the Pilsner and it was not good at all.
Yeah.
They both got really bitter. I just had this
And I think the
really
same thing happens
too
with
much
this.
bitterness in my mouth sort of thing.
I think I might disagree with you a little bit on the beer and the cheese.
Do you like that?
With
What I
the goat
found
cheese?
is that goat cheese, after I treat it up, it's coating my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's keeping the beer from taking that away. The
Oh.
oils of the
The beer
oily,
no longer wipes it
cheesy-
clean.
No, it can't. This is sticking to the roof of my mouth. It's the pasty stickiness of it that's allowing. So after the beer goes down, then I get the cheese back again. I don't think they're coming together in a beautiful way, but they're not hurting. In my case, the beer and
So this is a B pairing, not an A pairing.
yeah, they're both okay.
It's okay.
Neither hurt, neither gained. I guess B. We got to work on our scale. I don't know, B, A plus.
Yeah,
Yeah, something.
I don't like that scale anyway.
We have to work on it.
Let's do the 100 scale.
Yeah. as Parker,
Give it 100
did
points.
Parker trademark that? No, because
No, you see there's lots of them. What I love is 100 plus.
Yeah, yeah. They started.
100's not
Who's
enough.
doing
You got
that?
to do 100 plus.
Who's doing that? Nobody's doing that. I hope not.
It's like 100%
I
chance
hope
of rain.
not. That's terrible. So I got to try this with the blue cheese. I mean, with the cream cheese and.
Christine says one of her favorite pairings is the Winnie Rosé with Hermit's cheddar.
Now here, the aged Gouda, I prefer with the wine. I think I'm going to switch to the sandwich now, but I bet you each one of these, so far 2 for 2, the cheese, except for the goat cheese in this one.
So
The cheeses go better
The
with the wine than
sweetness
they do
helps.
with the beer.
With the bitterness of the cheese on that aged Gouda.
And I found that the pairing of the wine and the cream cheese, the goat cheese, lost because the wine can't hold up to the cheese. The cheese sticks to your mouth too much, and I found the bitterness of the beer held up to it.
Wow.
But this didn't do it as well as the cheese took away from the wine a little bit, I think, in the end. Just a little, not a lot. But I have to try that again.
These crackers are great too.
Good cleansing your palate. Yeah, they really are.
Just the-
So we got to talk about these.
Yeah.
Whose crackers are these?
These are Jack's
Jack's
crackers.
crackers.
They're made down in Keene. We've carried them for a long time, but we've only recently been able to start getting them in bulk. So we're putting them on our boards a lot more now,
Oh, good.
which is great being able to get
They are
a nice
great
bulk cracker
crackers.
that we can
Yeah.
put on boards like this. And they're made with wine. So we have white wine ones and red wine ones.
They're so good.
And they're just the right amount of just a tiny hint of sweetness with a little bit of saltiness,
It's a
but
savory
not
sweetness.
too
Yeah.
powerful in any sort of seasonings or
Right.
flavors. So
They're subtle, but they're flavorful at the same time.
Yeah.
They ride that balance beautifully.
I really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad we've been getting those.
All right, so sandwiches now.
So try the fig is really interesting with the beer. So
Right.
see what you think of that.
I love their can. It's just,
That is nice.
Yeah.
I have to say, I don't know if all their cans are like what their sort of graphic design.
Ooh. Ooh. I like that.
Yeah.
Here's your sandwich or flatbread? Did I do the wrong
The
order?
flatbread.
Oh,
The flatbread.
You're on the sandwich.
I did
The
sandwich.
fig. There's something with the fig that's going really nicely with the
And
with the hops or something.
and a little bit of bitterness from the
Arugula.
arugula on there. And the breadiness,
I
it
gotta
goes
tell
with
you
the
that-
breadiness of the beer.
The rosé is nice with it too, though.
I'll bet.
These little bottles.
That is good.
Oh,
This, again, I think like with the
oh, that's so good.
what was it earlier?
That's a
The
tie.
the sweetness of the balsamic fig counteracts the bitterness nicely.
Yeah, that's what there's the beer changes in a positive way with that flatbread.
Which is the opposite of what's happening with the rosé. The sweetness of the rosé and the sweetness of the flatbread come together to enhance each other.
I know.
So it's the opposite, but both
Both end up with a good result.
with a good result. Yeah, I like them
Yeah,
both. With that.
they're both
Very
really good.
So we should have notes because we remember to put all this on our menu down the stairs.
I'm
when we
trying to
figure out
remember
it's
what we
great.
pair.
What's
I
all
think we
being
suggest
recorded?
this
Well, it's
flatbread. I believe we suggested something darker, like Hermitage.
No, well, definitely.
And then
We could be doing this for months, Marika.
oh yeah,
We will be doing this.
and
for
the
months. We will be
the
doing
turkey
this
bacon
months.
jam. I definitely say the rosé is a good pairing. Crab apple, and
Well,
also the
I'm doing
cranberry
that
cider.
now.
The cranberry cider is one of my favorite pairings with turkey bacon jam.
Well, beer, no.
With the sandwich.
Yeah.
You know what happened was
Did you like it?
what happened to me was the citrusy aroma doesn't go very well with the flavors of the sandwich.
Right.
I think it would go
So-
much better with a different sandwich, like the roast beef with that like the tangy aioli or something.
Mhm.
I think that would be better.
Yeah. This definitely doesn't work for me at all. That's I think the food and the beer suffer when they're in my mouth together.
Yeah, that's when they go down.
They both go down.
Now let's try with the rosé. It's a great sandwich, by the way.
It
Yeah.
is.
I love this sandwich.
It's our
The
best-selling
bacon
sandwich.
jam.
It's our best-selling sandwich. We sell more of these bacon jam sandwiches than anything else we sell.
No, it's charcuterie board.
No,
No,
sandwiches.
sandwich.
Oh, okay, sandwich.
Yeah.
In the category, yeah.
Just say cranberry turkey wrap's probably close, but it's not as good as this.
No. This is-
That bacon jam is just unique.
So
Well,
this
I
is
don't know,
kind of
that
fun.
new
The
special
last,
that Travis has been running with he made this basil aioli, and then we're doing it as a special with turkey and candied bacon. So it kind of has the same idea as the bacon jam, but that basil aioli, and that might end up as a permanent menu item. We'll see. But this has been a Hermit Wood staple. And yeah, turkey cranberry.
so I like the aroma of the rosé while I'm eating the sandwich. So my first test is I'm chewing the food and I'm bringing the glass up to my nose and I'm smelling that and the aroma of the wine, whether or not it goes with what I was having. So the last one with the flatbread and the beer didn't go with it. Or this one and the beer didn't go with it. But then when I drink this,
The
washing
sandwich, I
it
thought the sandwich
down.
and the beer did. You said it did.
Oh, yes, the sandwich and the beer did.
Yeah.
Sorry, the flatbread beforehand.
The rosé and the beer and the sandwich.
So the rosé and the sandwich are really weird. The aroma seems like it's all nice and it's going to happen, but then the rosé gets bitter and hollow. It like kills
work
the
for me.
wine.
Yeah.
I have no idea why that happens, but
idea.
it kills it. It doesn't really go for me.
What was your experience?
I think it's great.
Well, at the end of the day, right? Everybody's got their own taste buds. Everybody has.
It's
their
all
own
different
ideas.
chemistry.
It's all different
Right.
chemistry. Yeah, everybody's going to absolutely have their own idea of what works. Well, I say this to everybody: forget what the experts say. It doesn't matter. It's
Right.
what matters.
What
is
works for you.
What do you
Yeah.
like?
Right.
People they'll drink a box wine and they say, "I love it." Great, lucky you. Box wine's a great deal. If you love it, there's no reason
Of
not
course.
to drink it.
Of course. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all.
No, the sandwich
There's
is still
something
fine,
competing,
but
yeah.
there's something that comes out
Yeah.
bad in the wine with that sandwich.
Hard to describe, but I agree.
There's like a bitterness.
Yep.
It really flattens out the wine. All right. Well,
That
that's pretty
was
good.
good.
So we've gone
Hey.
through two different sets, and in both cases, we're trying different types of wine, different types of beer. We're working our way up through singular cheeses with these, and so far it seems like the singular cheeses with the wine outdoes the beer, and then the sandwiches become a more complicated situation here.
So
Sometimes working, sometimes not working.
something that has been occurring to me as I'm thinking about what we're doing and thinking about the book that Garrett wrote, Garrett Oliver. First of all, Garrett Oliver doesn't know about our wine.
Well, it is different wine.
It
He's
is
comparing
different.
it to a Burgundy, or he's comparing it to a Chardonnay.
Classic Vitis vinifera wine, and we're comparing it to this unique wine that is only existing in this place right here. Doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. So it's sort of unfair to Garrett to suggest that this experiment suggests anything different from what he found, because he has never had the opportunity to try this.
No, and again, it's not. I think this book has just prompted us.
Yeah, to think
And
about
so
it.
we're coming at it from a different format.
Right,
If
but-
we had a Chardonnay and a Merlot,
We might agree with
maybe
some of what
we
he's
could
saying.
say, oh yeah, these beers are the way to go.
Yeah.
But so far, these beer crafted wines seem to be better with cheeses, straight cheeses, but the sandwiches are different.
Well, and another difference in what we're doing here today and what Garrett did is Garrett very purposely looked at beers from all over the world and then very purposely picked foods that he thought would go well with those beers.
Right.
So we just, and not we weren't completely purposeful about it. We only have so many beers to choose from, and we only have so many wines, and we have a small selection of food. So we don't have the world's. I mean, he has the world's palate at his fingertips. I mean, he's comparing wines and beer to foie gras. We don't have foie gras.
And
So-
comparing a very small brewery in Belgium,
Right.
a monastery brewery where you can
Right.
only get it from the monastery directly there. I've been going through and there are some beers that have stood out, and I'm like, oh, I really want to try that. And I'll search on my
Hard
beer
to
app,
find.
and some of them I can get. Actually, I need to pay a visit to my sister in Portland because she lives right around the corner from a really good package store that actually has several
you
of the
can get
beers that I'm
some of
looking
those.
for.
Yeah,
But a lot of them
you can't. It's hard to
you
find.
can't get here.
Yeah.
Even if you expand my radius to 100 miles.
You got to go to Europe.
Yeah.
Of course, we
It's
do.
the only answer
Of course
to
we
that
do.
problem.
All right, you ready for another round?
Yeah.
Let's go into a different
I love this
territory.
part where you just have to drink the beer. I gotta say, Chapel in Maine has done a really nice job.
That's a really nice beer.
Yeah, I'm excited to start making a point of getting some of this stuff.
Before we go on to the next one, make sure we know, that everybody else knows who the producers are of this food, so we know. So the cheese,
So
the,
this was the aged Gouda was from Cobb Hill Farm. That's a newer one that we've started carrying. They're over in Vermont.
Yep.
It's Hardgate.
I don't know.
The blue cheese is the one that we've had for a long time.
Yep.
It's like
Blue
classic,
Hill.
wonderful. Great Hill blue
Great
cheese.
Hill,
They're in
yeah.
Great Hill
Massachusetts.
blue cheese is
Harmon's
unbelievable.
cheddar, of course, and then
out of
the goat-
Sugar Hill.
out of Sugar Hill, New Hampshire. The goat cheese is from Vermont Creamery. The crackers we talked about already. On the flatbread, we've got the Waz balsamic fig bread spread.
Balsamic
Yeah,
spread.
from up in
Where do we get the
Bethlehem
arugula
area.
from at this time of year?
It comes from the Black River distributor.
Okay.
I'm not sure where they source
where
it.
they have a-
Probably a greenhouse. A lot of the fresh vegetables.
I know,
now,
there's
the
a
fresh
lot of
lettuce is coming in.
microgreens and different things
Yeah.
available year round now.
They're doing hydroponically over in Concord. There's a massive
Loudon.
leaf.
Leaf Farms.
Yeah,
Loudon's got a
farms.
big one.
We can. I don't think. No, we get from Little Leaf is one down in Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah,
I
Little
don't
Leaf,
know if
yep.
we
Same
can
thing,
get
though,
direct
competitor.
leaf.
We
Yeah.
I think we can.
We should look into that.
Yep.
Which is great. I mean, the reason these things happen is because people like us and others support them.
Yeah.
It's just like our winery and what we've got going on is because people support us and it makes it happen. It's great.
And then on the sandwich, the turkey and the bacon both comes from North Country Smokehouse over in Claremont. And then we've got bread, of course, from Bob the bread peddler over in Sanborn.
Oh, Bob makes the best bread.
Yeah, it was great. He's on a bit of a Thanksgiving
been-
break right now, so we did a 3-week order. So I had like 5 boxes of bread last week that I grabbed from him, so we could stock up
It
and
is.
make sure we didn't run out.
How did you find him? Because you hooked
Farmer's
up with
market.
Bob from like the very beginning of our winery.
Yeah. We sold this bread at the winery. We never really sold it. We just ate a lot of it. Nobody, I mean, we were just too small.
But it was
People couldn't
just
drink.
this great, like, crossing of paths. And you, from the very beginning, were such a champion. It's like, we're always going to sell his bread. We're gonna do this.
He makes great bread. Have you ever
He
seen
does.
Bob the bread peddler at
He's
any
at
of the farmers
farmers
markets?
markets around.
And
Yeah.
it's just out of his house.
Just
I've
out of
gone
his
out
house.
on the dirt road to pick it up from his
Yeah.
house. And
It's really amazing bread.
It is.
I'm a big fan.
Especially as toast. It toasts particularly
Toasts up
well.
really well.
Toast and
I agree.
paninis.
Yeah.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's particularly perfect.
One of the things that I don't know that we do a very good job at this. You know, everybody's you talk about me being the marketer. I'm always letting us down.
Oh,
No, we are more a farm to table restaurant than probably most farm to table restaurants are in New England, and we don't say that enough. We don't tell the world. I mean, our food is coming from local farms.
Yeah.
Everything
As
that's
much as
here in
possible.
front of us is coming from local farms, and we're making it here in our kitchens, and that's exciting. So
what works is when you stop in and you check in with someone at a table to see how they're doing, and they're just like, oh, this is great. This charcuterie board is unbelievable. And they don't really know necessarily everything that's on that board or where it came from or why it tastes so good. It just tastes really good.
Yeah.
And that's
Well, we need to
great
start making sure
confirmation
they
that, yeah, I know. You know,
that's the marketer should do. That's my job. I'm going to do
I
better.
didn't want to say that
but
straight up.
It
but-
changes. It can change so often, which is another kind of good thing in a way, because we have so many, even just from Fortuna's alone, all the different sausages that she makes. So we switch it up so regularly that it's hard to sort of have a consistent saying, this is what's always on the board. You can't
Yeah.
list it on the menu because it changes. And that's one of the beautiful things too.
Before we go, let's see if we got any more comments or feedbacks that we'd like to reference.
Priscilla's
from
joined
our
us a
group.
little late, but better late than never, of course. Matt's discussing foie gras. He's going to go get some, it sounds like. And last week he paired red melange with the escargot
Remember to put their comments.
Oh,
on.
I saw his comment up there about that, and
based on the
I
October
think
18th
it's just
broadcast.
such a great, cool thing.
Red
I can't
melange
wait
with
to try it.
I love
escargot.
Matt's explorations.
I know,
It's
it's
just
great.
incredible.
Maybe we should get some escargot for another week.
Maybe serve that in the deli. That'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can we,
Yeah,
can, we,
foie
can, we
gras-
find, can we find orange snails somewhere?
Well, it depends on the sauce that you cook it with, right? We could probably create something interesting with an orange sauce with an escargot.
Did you see the bucket of crabs that Emily showed up with?
No.
So these are the invasive crabs that she's studying for her graduate degree. She tags them and tracks them and does all this stuff. And at one point she talked to Travis and said, would you ever do anything with crabs? He said, oh, I don't know, maybe. So we were bottling last week and she brought this bucket of all these crabs. Here you go, Travis.
And he put that in our
He made
a new chowder. We
He
have
made a new chowder.
we
Did
have
he
a-
put clams? Did he put
Yes.
crabs in that?
Yeah, he cooked up all those crabs.
So it's crabs and salmon in the chowder. It's really good, actually. It's very good.
Yeah,
Nice
those
job.
crabs came over on ships hundreds of years ago into New England and have no competitors, and they've just clogged up all the
Taken over.
estuaries
Interesting.
and taken over everything.
Small world.
I love it.
Matt's taking a trip tomorrow to Chicopee to import or to get some escargot that's been imported from Strasbourg.
Ooh. Matt, we need to spend more time together, I think, definitely.
We definitely do.
We
Yeah.
need to make a trip down to Mass just to spend some time with Matt.
All right, I'm starting with cheese.
So wait, before you go, what are we drinking? Let's
We've
start
got the
with-
Moat Mountain
I know what I'm
Bone
drinking.
Shaker Brown. So they're based up in Intervale.
Yeah, I
Lovely
love
little spot.
Great little brewery, yeah.
Yeah, their food is delicious.
Yeah.
It's a tough place because it gets real busy. It's a very popular like après-ski,
Yeah,
hiking location, but they're big. They've got a lot of space, and their beer is great. They've been around for a while, and I have never been disappointed with the food there either.
To me, what's really laudable about Moat is that they were champions of lagers from the get-go. And ales are a product that you can flip in 2 or 3 weeks. And so most craft breweries work with ales. And the fermentation happens faster and you
Right.
clear out your tanks and off you go. To dedicate time to make a proper lager
What's there?
ties up tanks for a long time. So you have to be
A month
true
ago.
to your art.
Yeah.
It could be 6 months.
Yeah.
It could be a long time. So they came out that way, and I was always just like, that's awesome that they do
yeah,
that. They're Czech Pilsner.
I love their Czech Pilsner.
Yeah.
They have
So-
a good Weiss beer too. Yeah.
What's also interesting, I find Moat Mountain does some really nice examples of these beers. But what I'm discovering, and part of what I learned from Garrett's book, is Americans have variation on European beers.
That's what we do.
There's very few American beers that are true to the European original style. They exist for sure. There's a lot of crafters trying to do that.
But they don't. But
they're putting an American twist.
Always.
Which isn't bad.
It's great.
It's in many ways really good.
Great.
But I had a brown ale from England not too long ago that stands out to me as one of the best beers I've had in a long time. It was really, I learned about it through his book. And now I'm drinking another brown ale, and it's different. And this is a delicious brown ale. I enjoy it. And
it's just a little bit more racy. Different. It's more aggressive. It's more in your face. Yeah. This is a different sort of brown ale than a Newcastle brown ale.
It's got more,
the Newcastle. That's definitely like the classic English brown ale that you see. Classic.
Well, not the Newcastle made in America.
Right.
Oh,
that's different.
Is there a different?
There's I'll bring an example in. I got it at the local case and keg, and I don't know that it's Newcastle, but it's European British, and it's just delicious. And it's different than this. They're both good, but it's very different, and it's less effervescent. It's a little softer.
Yeah.
I've made a nut brown ale for a long time that you've had, and that I always carbonate it lower and have a mix of grain. It is just a delightful.
Yeah, I love brown ale. Brown ale is one of my favorite styles. I think it's one of the kind of underappreciated, I think.
So I think, it's interesting. Noah said this the other day. He said, I don't know, but it seems to me that brown ales are going to have a resurgence in the next few years.
Maybe
that in our country, I think that's going to be one of the next ones. We've seen this happen with Pilsners. We've run the gamut with our IPAs, and those are strong. But brown ales might be something that comes up.
So that was the other most exciting thing about Garrett's book that really, really has changed my world. I was drinking IPAs. I was drinking a lot of IPAs, and I enjoyed them. There is a lot of variation in IPA, and it's been fun to explore different IPAs from around New England. But quite frankly, I was starting to get tired of just all IPAs.
Wow, Bob.
Garrett.
I know, right?
I can't believe you're saying this. I'm very happy you're saying this. I'm very.
Well, I was so amazed that time, it was a month or so ago when we tasted a bunch of beer and I convinced you to like it sour, and that was a big deal.
Well, it's an eye-opening experience. I've drank more different styles of beers in the last 2 months since starting this book than I have in probably all my life. And I'm having so much fun with it. There's so many different exciting, when I visit breweries, local breweries, I'm experimenting with all of the different styles that they have and comparing them and learning about them. And IPAs are starting to take a back seat. And although that Chaplain Maine's pretty good. So I'm not going to lose my interest in IPAs. There's no way. But now I'm going to have, dozens of different styles of beer to go to with my food.
So it's great to hear you say that, because I fell in love with beer while I was bicycling in Europe.
Well, see, you had an advantage.
And then when I learned that I could actually make beer myself, I was like, oh my goodness, this is great. Now, finally, I can maybe get close to or some semblance of what I had bicycling around Europe. And so most of my beers have that classic European style that I've made homebrewing. When I was going back through my notes a few months ago, I kept making this, this double IPA, but with holdings. It's not like anything that is like a modern double IPA at all. Right. It's like, where's the hoppiness? Well, it's there. It doesn't hit you in the face like Citra hops do out of the Northwest. And brown ales and stouts and
so it's interesting because you had the same experience, not too different from. I had
his experience.
You were there.
I had his experience.
You came back and you brought what you learned. And back in the early 80s when this happened, what do you have? Maybe 60 breweries in the whole country.
Yeah, there wasn't any of that.
There was hardly any. I mean, Garrett points out that for the better part of the 20th century, there were only 40 breweries in all of America after Prohibition. Up until the 80s and 90s when the craft brew industry started to develop. So you brought back from Europe the same way he did.
That's what happened. I just blew my mind.
Yeah.
It just blew my mind. That's exactly. So again, Yeah, have you enjoyed this?
Yeah. What are we drinking here?
So
We talked about
I
the
found
beer.
thus far, I've been pairing the beer with the cheese. A
Yeah,
lot.
I've started off with the
cheddar
cheeses.
is fabulous with this beer. I love that.
Yeah.
I think the goat cheese, my tongue goes back and forth between goat cheese beer. They don't quite meld. One doesn't
You're jumping
quite
too fast.
cancel the other.
You're just going
You and
way
Chad.
ahead.
Oh no, I've done
We've
it
only
all
got
too.
10 minutes
You've been
left.
talking. We've been eating and
We've
drinking.
only had 10 minutes, so I haven't tasted the wine.
Oh, she's holding us to the clock.
I know, that's what happens when you
Wow.
hire a moderator.
It's good.
But we didn't even talk about the wine yet.
I know. We've got time, but that's why we got to talk about the beer now. I think the blue cheese is too much for this beer.
I'm going to shut up and eat. Okay.
Yeah, you should taste.
Just
What
get
we're talking
to-
about.
yeah.
You
You
just
guys
go.
go.
You can get your
Indulge.
snack it on and then you can contribute.
Yeah.
I think, the cheddar is fabulous.
So, do you prefer the cheddar with the beer or the wine?
I haven't gotten to the wine yet. I've just done cheese and beer.
Okay. So,
Now I'm going to do.
because I've been doing them side by side. I've been going through
Oh,
each
okay.
cheese, and I've been doing the beer and the wine, and
That's a good way to do
deciding
it.
to myself
So you can talk and eat
which
too.
one. What's that?
So you can talk and eat too. That's pretty good. Very
Well, I
talented.
try to do that. Yeah, I don't know if I can do that, but
You're
The
doing
cheddar,
it.
cheddar with the
it-
cheddar with Petit Blue is also wonderful.
so try them side by side because that's really, this is really to decide what would you prefer. You've got a chunk of this cheese. You're sitting in front of the fire. You've got a good book. You can either get a bottle of Petit Blue Reserve from 2018 that was barrel aged for a year, or you can get this brown ale. And you got to decide which one you're going to go
This is a
for.
tough one. This is the first cheese that I think
This is the first cheese. This is the
that's
first
very
beer.
direct.
This is the first beer that comes close to these cheeses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
although
I love this beer with this cheese.
the
But
cheddar cheese in both of these aren't working for me as well as I'd like them to. The cheddar and the beer and the wine both are not holding up. This is too intense for both of them, in my opinion.
So it was better with the Lake House White, the cheddar.
Yeah, where you're going back to the beginning. It's hard.
Yeah.
I've had so many
That's a long
chemicals
time
in
ago.
my mouth.
I
It's
know.
hard to
That's,
remember.
come on, this is
We have a
you're a
recording.
professional.
We have a recording.
You're
so
a
we can check.
professional now.
But I don't know if you agreed or disagree, but that's right now in the moment when I tasted the cheddar with both of these products, I found that the pairing doesn't bring both forward. They're both going to come away competing and struggling to be present in my mouth. I don't know. That's how I came away. With the cheddar, I haven't tried anything else yet.
So the way I would do it, I
Okay.
get one more glass and I put Lake House White in it. But right now I'm thinking I'd rather have this Petit Blue Reserve with this cheddar sitting around
Then the Lake House
than
White.
Lake House White.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have it than the beer. But this beer, I think if the carbonation level was a little lower and the malt was a little bit more forward than the hops,
Yeah. it's
I
not
think
malty enough.
would go better with the
a
cheese.
slightly stronger brown ale.
Yeah.
Or fuller.
A little
This is
bit more,
a little light.
a little bit more classic brown ale. Go better with it.
I think you're absolutely right. It's too carbonated. That's what I find.
It's too carbonated. That's one of the things, like a beer engine, a hand-pulled ale, which is what what blew his mind when he went. That's what got him started down the beer path. For me, it was going to Germany and waiting 5 minutes for a nice Pilsner.
Yeah.
They would just fill it with foam, and then they would wait, and fill it with foam, and wait. And then finally I had this incredible golden nectar. It was just incredible.
I think the blue cheese is a little much for the wine.
Which one?
The blue
Yeah.
cheese.
Yeah, I
Too much for
agree.
the wine.
Yeah, I didn't even go there.
All right, I gotta get into
the
this
goat
newish.
cheese was. How do you think about the goat cheese with that too?
I think it competes with both of them. I don't think it quite works with either.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if one was particularly better or worse, but it doesn't quite work with either.
So far haven't found anything that I'm really excited about with the brown ale, food-wise, and I think it's because the brown ale is so effervescent. It changes the equation in my mouth too dramatically.
Look at the name. It's called Bone Shaker.
I know. It's
So that's
Can I
almost,
splash more too?
that's an American brown ale if there ever was one.
yeah.
We're going to make this a bone shaker. Most people, when they thought of a brown ale, wouldn't think about shaking their bones up. They'd be about coating their bones or softening their
That's right,
bones.
right.
Or
Yeah, I like a slightly sweeter brown ale.
It's definitely too carbonated. It has a place in the world, but comparing it with food.
And that classic brown ale you had the other day.
Yeah, that's
This
just,
is a different product.
not a fan of the pizza. Doesn't work.
Not a fan with the turkey jam panini for either of them. I don't think it works for either. I mean, this wine I like to have on its own anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Both Christine and Gary Parker in sports, they would choose wine every time.
Well, some people don't like beer. That's perfectly reasonable too, but I like both equally. I don't. The wine doesn't go with the flatbread as well either. It's better than the beer,
no, they don't go right.
but it's still not right.
Yeah, definitely better than beer.
For me, it's important that while I'm chewing the food and I lift the glass to my nose, that the aroma isn't conflicting with what I'm tasting in my mouth. So that's my first key indicator. I'm chewing the food, I bring the glass to my nose, I know I'm about to take a sip, and if the smell doesn't go with what I'm tasting, then I know the format's not going to work.
Same thing. And I just did what you just said, and the aroma coming up on this sandwich, on the turkey bacon jam, conflicted. Just the aroma alone conflicted with the turkey bacon jam.
I like the aroma of the brown ale with the flatbread.
Yeah. It wasn't the aroma that got me with the flatbread. It was that the over fizziness is what competed with me, for me, on the flatbread.
Yeah, it's way too carbonated.
When it comes to beer, Gary just likes a good stout.
There's, the good thing about this.
I've discovered
The
that
good thing
too.
about this, we can do this over and over and over again in so many ways for every day for the rest of our lives.
There
We
are
still
so
wouldn't
many
cover it all.
different,
There's so many great
beers,
beers.
so many
There's so many great
different
wines.
wines. And again, yeah, like kind of what we're talking about, how, a American brown ale versus a British brown ale is going to be pretty different. But also an American brown ale from one brewery is going to be pretty darn
Oh,
different from another
they're
brewery.
all over the place.
Oh, the Petit Blue Reserve didn't hold it to the sandwich for me either.
Nope,
That's not good.
no, not at all.
It ruins the Petit Blue Reserve. It's such a beautiful wine. I was when I first sipped
This
that, I was like,
this
oh my
wine
God,
this
that's
wine
so
I really
good.
like on its own. There's so much going on aromatically in this that
But the wine is divine individually, and the sandwich is divine individually. This has been fascinating. It's
Yeah, so
fun.
as we near the end, so we're at 6:29. So of course we always go over. I'm expecting us to go over. But Gary wants to know, what was the brown ale that you recently had, Bob? Was it the Sam Smith Nut Brown?
Sam Smith.
Yep.
was it Sam Smith in the clear bottle?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's it. There you go.
No.
There you go, Greg.
Yeah, it's in a clear bottle.
No, then it wasn't Sam Smith.
No, I don't think so.
It was
It's
in his
brown.
brown bottle.
I've seen that before.
Really?
Yep. Sam Smith Nut Brown.
Wow.
I'll tell you what.
That was a tatty.
I will find out, and I'll
Double check.
put this into the.
Was that
into
the tatty nut
conversation.
brown?
What was each of our best two pairings? Or maybe best beer pairing and best wine pairing of all the ones that we tried?
Today?
The rosé and the IPA for me had the most depth and breadth across the food for me. I mean, there were some other ones outside of that I thought were good and worked, but the rosé, of course, was the strongest across the palate.
So the blue cheese and the rosé, I want to just shove my face with both of them. So that's
Which one?
the blue cheese and the rosé.
Yeah.
That still just rocks my world of a combination. It's just
There's still some blue cheese there, so I'm gonna.
you better grab it while you can. That stands out to me. Second to that, of an elevated pairing of where they go really well together. Where you go, Rico, yeah.
What are you talking
More. The blue cheese and the rosé, right?
Why is that so perfect?
I don't know.
Why is that so
I have
perfect?
no idea. But we did
well,
this
we found-
a
I think
year ago.
there's
We were
some
down in the
that-
barrel room and we were going
Doing
through
the
some
same
sort of
thing.
tasting, and all of us were just like dumbfounded for a minute. We're like, oh, okay, hold
I think
on.
it's something about the saltiness of the blue cheese with the tartness of the rosé. I think is part of
And
it.
the sweetness.
Well, maybe I could add salt to the rosé wine and make it even better on its own.
There are salty
Like a
beers out
salted
there.
beer.
Pretty darn good now. I don't think you should mess with it.
Well, no, you know me. I'm gonna mess
Stay
with it,
tuned
Bob.
for next year's rosé.
I'm gonna mess with
With
it.
some seawater.
Yeah.
Think of it with seawater.
That
Maybe
beer
some
you brought me,
invasive crab.
That's probably
Who
the
knows?
saltiest beer I've ever had. It was a lot. It was good, but it was a lot.
Too much, it sounds like.
So it seems like it, yeah.
A little bit. I could see what they were going for because they're talking about, they're using their seawater and their kelp and things. And there's a little bit of
Seagrass.
an oceany, like there was a bit of a funk to it that I feel
Right.
like
Well, it's a
they did it
gose.
on purpose. Yeah.
Isn't there always a little bit of a funk to a ghost?
They're often a bit salty, but
Salt,
yeah,
but not funk.
the funk is
That's
different.
right.
But the fact that
That's
it's
more like a
ocean
farmhouse.
salt.
I am such a neophyte when it comes to goes.
Yeah. Well, it's
I haven't
one of
goes
I kind of-
there very often.
Yeah.
You haven't goes there.
Yeah, it's a whole new
Final
category. for
thoughts,
me.
yeah. Chuck says, it's a fun experiment. I believe there are pairings with food that beer and wine have their place. I still love a juicy steak with a big red wine.
I gotta agree with that. But although it was fascinating, although again, he's talking about some big European wines, but Garrett compares some really big European wines with steak that he just goes on and on about. I look forward to that experiment. I look forward to
Oh, we're gonna do steak here one night?
yeah. I'll make some ribeye.
Ah,
I'll
there we
grill.
go. And we're gonna have what, a stout, a brown ale?
I don't know. I'll
An
have to dig into
IPA?
Garrett's
We're gonna dig
expertise
into
there.
this?
Yeah.
Because it's true. I agree with him that beer is pretty darn versatile and you can pair beer with a lot of things that you maybe wouldn't expect.
Right.
But I still think that there are things that a wine is going to be better. And I think it's things like that, like a steak or a good like Italian dinner, like a fancy Italian dinner. I can't imagine any beer being better than a
nice
fine
Chianti.
Well,
Exactly.
you've got to go digging into the little tiny breweries that Garrett's explored in the nooks and crannies.
Well,
of
those
Europe.
are pretty amazing.
And maybe you're going to put a beer with
I
a
might.
steak, and you're going to go, "Oh my god!" Because we don't have that choice here.
Yeah, and I think the cider conversation is a thing too because I think there are times when it's
Cider opens.
And
the
Cider
door.
is
Garrett doesn't
so-
even know about that.
The
wonderful.
cider
Yeah.
in 2003 when he wrote that book, cider was just starting to emerge.
But I mean, it was
Farnham Hill was
cider's
doing their
been
thing.
around in England
For
and
hundreds of
Europe.
years.
Cider's been around for hundreds
So
of
it's
years.
not like he hasn't had cider.
No, but he's American, and so he hasn't had that. He wasn't when he wrote this book. He wasn't introduced to the
Yeah.
American cider scene.
He's American.
And he wasn't exploring cider in Europe. He was exploring beer. He doesn't mention cider at all. So it's clearly
Yeah.
it's not on his radar for that book anyway. Maybe it is now.
Did anything work with the aged Gouda?
I've had so many flavors in my mouth in the last hour. I don't even remember what worked and didn't work.
The rosé wasn't
all
bad, but
recorded.
it wasn't really good.
That's just too much. Yeah. It's a good cheese, but it's just
I've been racking my brain here the whole time trying to think about what rocked my world tonight besides the blue cheese and the rosé again.
That one was amazing.
And I
for
can't.
me, the cheddar and the brown ale. I love that. But I've always felt
Really? Okay, so now
I'm
I'm
having,
gonna.
like-
So
if
I
I'm
really
out-
like. I like the cheddar with the Lake House White over the Pilsner. So now I'm gonna try the brown ale Lake House White challenge with the cheddar.
because
See,
that's
'cause
what
we
like
could bounce around.
if
between
I'm
these
out
different-
at a good
What's that?
pub and I get a
Come on,
good
it's
sort of
gotta be
pub
professional
style
here, Bob.
baked mac and cheese, I'm gonna want to drink that with a beer, and I would think I would go for a brown ale or a stout. Or if I'm making mac and cheese at home, I would definitely pair it with beer and a good dark beer. Matt is looking forward to exploring Belgian ales, cheeses, and chocolates from a barge in Belgium, hopefully 2022.
I can't wait,
And-
Matt. I
yeah.
can't wait.
And Janice suggests olives stuffed with blue cheese in her beer. Olives and beer, a poor man's martini.
That's interesting.
That is
great.
interesting. Yeah,
I'll
I
do
can
that.
try that.
No.
Janet,
As opposed
nice
to
suggestion.
gin, I like olives with gin.
Well, I like olives with beer too. Just to eat olives with beer. I've never put them in the beer, but who knows?
That could work.
Maybe that'd be good. Try it.
Maybe I add olives to the rosé.
So I think we're coming to the
Yeah,
end.
closing thoughts.
We're-
Anything going on this week? Anything news updates? Things
That's
we
a
need to
tie,
know?
Marika. The cheddar,
Nut brown and the
nut brown, they both aromatically go really well. So I'm eating the cheddar. It's in my mouth. It's coating my mouth. It's a great flavor. I smell the Lake House White. It's just beautiful rosehip aromatics that blend beautifully with it. Then I smell the nut brown ale, and it's got these beautiful aromatics that go with it. Flavor-wise, now it's a little bit flatter, too.
well, that
Now,
helps.
so that
Yeah.
helped a lot. It
That
took
helps.
down the aggressiveness. I
It's
poured just a
really
little
aggressive,
bit,
yeah.
swirled it around to flatten it a little bit, and that really helped with that brown ale. It brought out the malt,
Didn't shake the
Character.
bones as much.
didn't shake the bones as much. It coated the bones. That's what a brown ale should do, in my mind.
So I think we got to bring this to a close. Again, stay tuned. Monday night. Who knows what we'll be talking about next Monday?
We'll figure it out
We'll figure it out. It'll be
Feel
fun.
free always.
at least
if-
2 minutes before the show.
If you are our loyal followers, especially those of you that are there every week, know what we have covered. If you have ideas for things you'd like us
That'd
to
be
do,
fun.
Always open.
Yeah.
Matt,
We're always
Matt
open.
has
Matt's
a
got
dozen
an idea.
ideas
We've got-
for every week. He's got an
we're
idea.
working on putting that.
We're working on putting that
Yep.
together. Yeah, your
Um,
latest idea, Matt, is a
That's a good
rock
one, yeah.
star
So
idea. So
If anybody has things that they'd like us to taste or ideas for our broadcast, stuff that they're curious about, we send it our way.
yeah. Otherwise, see you next Monday at 5:30. I hope. So thank you for joining us today, and have a great day.
All right.
Cue the music.
Just not as